Hey everyone, I am incredibly excited to guide you through today's explainer because we're about to reverse engineer something absolutely fascinating. We're going to take a completely objective, purely analytical look at the invisible architecture of United States global dominance. No, we aren't taking any political sides here. We're simply going to look at the data, the mechanics, and the geopolitical reality of how modern power actually functions. Think about this number for a second. 4%. That's it. That is roughly the percentage of the global population that actually lives in the United States. Yet we have this striking paradox, right? This relatively small slice of humanity wields an almost complete, unprecedented level of influence over the rest of the world. So how on earth does a country with just 4% of the world's people cast such a massive shadow over global politics, economics, technology, and culture?
Well, to understand this, we need to anchor ourselves to a specific concept, and that is Pax Americana. Now, this isn't just some abstract historical term. It is the modern global order. It's a highly specific, strategically engineered architecture of U.S. power that's been systematically built since 1945. Think of it kind of like an invisible operating system running quietly in the background of all international relations.
To pull this machine apart, here is our blueprint for today. We'll start with the Pax Americana paradox, then we'll expose the hidden layers, the dollar system, military power, and tech and culture. Finally, we'll examine why rivals fall short and look ahead to the future of global power. Okay, let's dive right into section 1, the Pax Americana paradox. What we really need to grasp here is that U.S. influence is absolutely not an accident of geography or, just a stroke of historical luck. It's a meticulously engineered system designed specifically to maintain global leverage. According to our source material, the true secret behind this superpower status is what we can call the three-layer hidden power system. It relies entirely on the dollar and banking system, the military and global bases, and tech and media control. And the crucial point to remember is that these aren't just isolated advantages. They're a deeply intertwined web. If a nation tries to bypass one layer, boom, they immediately run headfirst into the next. Which brings us to layer 1, the dollar system. These are the financial arteries. We often think of currency just as the money in our pockets, but at this level of geopolitics, the US dollar is a weaponized utility. It literally forms the financial arteries of the entire global economy. Just think about this for a second. 88%. That is the US dollar's usage in all global trade. Nearly 9 out of every 10 global transactions involve the dollar. Because of this, a country simply cannot avoid the US dollar without essentially crippling its own economy. The friction of doing business any other way is just impossibly high. And to really underscore that dominance, a staggering 60% of the world's foreign reserves are held in US dollars. Central banks from Europe all the way to Asia literally park their national wealth in American currency. It's a massive testament to the inescapable reliance the globe has on the US financial system. You see, the U.S. doesn't just print the money, it completely controls the plumbing. Look at these specific financial levers. You've got the SWIFT payment system, U.S. Treasury bonds, the Federal Reserve, and outsized voting power in institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. These specific tools allow the U.S. to enforce friendly policies globally. And if a nation actively disobeys, well, the U.S. can literally freeze their money via sanctions. It's an economic off switch. But what happens if a country actually decides to defy that financial layer and pushes back against those sanctions? That leads us to layer 2, military power, the physical enforcer. If the economic system is the rulebook, the military is the one enforcing those rules. Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer, overwhelming scale of this enforcement. The United States defense budget sits at roughly $900 billion. That is basically the GDP of a small continent. It easily eclipses the defense budgets of the next 10 countries combined. It's a completely unmatched financial commitment to hard power. And that massive budget funds a truly global security architecture. The U.S. maintains over 750 military bases spread across more than 80 countries. It boasts the largest Navy and Air Force on Earth, backed by incredibly tight intelligence networks and military alliances. We're talking NATO, the Quad, AUKUS, and the Five Eyes network. This isn't just about winning a war, right? It's about instant power projection. It's a permanent security guard for the global system, stationed on almost every single continent. The strategic cause and effect of this massive footprint is profound. The U.S. Navy actively controls the world's major sea routes. By dominating these maritime choke points, the U.S. essentially holds the master keys to global logistics. If a conflict breaks out, the United States has the immediate capability to cut off oil supplies or trade access to almost any nation on Earth. So, we have the economic rules, and we have the military enforcer. Let's move to layer 3, tech and culture. This is the invisible layer. While the military secures the physical world, it's this layer that secures the digital infrastructure and the narrative, effectively shaping global psychology. The modern world absolutely runs on data, and American corporations firmly hold the keys. From Google and Apple to Amazon and Meta, from operating system dominance and global cloud services to holding the U.S. origin patents for advanced tech and leading AI development. The U.S. even heavily influences the root servers of the internet itself. Global data and cybersecurity effectively live entirely inside an American ecosystem. And here is the ultimate synergy of this invisible layer. You have digital power, controlling the physical servers, the operating systems, the big tech platforms, perfectly paired with cultural power. Those American platforms are the exact vehicles used to export cultural narratives via Hollywood, Netflix, YouTube, global brands, and the dominance of the English language. Controlling the servers flawlessly aligns with shaping the global mind. Section 5. Why rivals fall short. Seeing this tightly woven web naturally leads us to a really big question. Why hasn't another rising power simply bypassed or replaced this American architecture? Well, if we do a highly analytical cross-examination of the top contenders, a pattern quickly emerges. China is an absolute economic giant, for sure, but its glaring weakness is that it lacks deep, treaty-bound global alliances. Russia has formidable military power, but a weak, relatively isolated economy. The European Union is incredibly rich and developed, but it's heavily divided politically. And India is rising rapidly, but is still fundamentally a developing nation. So the crucial takeaway here is that none of these contenders currently possess the holistic, interconnected, three-layer dominance that the United States enjoys. Finally, Section 6, the future of global power. We've just reverse-engineered the entire machine. We've seen exactly how currency, military bases, financial institutions, tech infrastructure, and cultural exports all reinforce each other to create this sort of inescapable loop. The core takeaway from our source material really boils down to this. As long as the world runs on these systems, the U.S. will remain the central power. American dominance is not a magic trick, guys. It's an engineered reality that is directly, inherently tied to the lifespan and the daily usage of this global architecture. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to chew on. Can this deeply interconnected global architecture ever actually be dismantled? Or is it just a permanent fixture of human history now? Are we looking at a system that will eventually fall like the empires of the past? Or has technology and finance created a truly unshakable matrix? It's a completely fascinating question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope you leave today with a much clearer understanding of the hidden mechanics running our world.